What if the main reason your life isn't changing is that you're trying too hard to change it? Think about it. You set goals, you visualized, you worked on yourself, you did everything right. Everything the books, courses, and coaches told you to do. And what was the result? The harder you tried to control the situation, the more it slipped away. The more desperately you wanted a relationship, the more you pushed people away. The harder you chased money, the further it ran. The more insistently you tried to be calm, the deeper you sank into anxiety. Sound familiar? You thought the problem was you, that you weren't trying hard enough, that you needed more control, more effort, more self-improvement. But what if it's the exact opposite? What if the very nature of reality is designed so that observation without interference creates more than any effort ever could? What if quantum physics, ancient mystics, and neuroscience are all saying the same thing? But we refuse to hear it. In this video, you'll learn about a principle that will completely overturn your understanding of reality. A principle that Taoist sages, Sufi masters, and Zen monks knew intimately. A principle that modern science has finally confirmed experimentally. The observer effect, the most powerful and most misunderstood law of the universe. When you understand this law, you'll stop fighting life. And that's exactly when life will start working for you. Ready? Let's dive deeper. But before we continue, I have a request. If you feel like this video didn't appear in your life by accident, if you sense that this topic resonates with something deep inside you, support this channel. Hit the subscribe button, leave a like, turn on the bell. This isn't just a button. It's your conscious decision to receive knowledge that shifts perception. YouTube's algorithms are designed so that without your support, this video won't reach the people who need it most. The ones who are struggling right now, trying to control everything and not understanding why nothing works. One like, and you set off a chain reaction. Someone will see this video, someone will stop fighting, someone will finally exhale. Subscribe, like, bell. 3 seconds, and you're part of this process. Thank you. Now let's continue. Let's start with science, because what I'm about to tell you sounds like mysticism, but it's a proven physical fact, experimentally confirmed hundreds of times. In 1801, Thomas Young conducted an experiment that still drives the world's best physicists mad. The double-slit experiment. The concept is simple. You fire particles, photons or electrons, through a barrier with 2 narrow slits. Behind the barrier is a screen that records where the particles land. What would you expect to see? 2 stripes. 2 lines opposite the 2 slits. Makes sense, right? A particle flies through, passes through one of the slits, leaves a mark, but something else happens. An interference pattern appears on the screen, a wave pattern, as if the particles weren't behaving like tiny balls, but like waves, as if each particle passed through both slits simultaneously and interfered with itself. That's already strange, but it gets stranger. Scientists decided to peek. They placed a detector at the slits to record which specific slit each particle passed through. And what happened? The interference pattern vanished. The particles instantly started behaving like ordinary balls. 2 stripes, no waves. The mere act of observation changed the behavior of reality. Not the instrument, not the interaction, the observation itself. The mere presence of consciousness directed at the process made reality behave differently. Think about that. Physical reality at its most fundamental level responds to whether or not you're watching. Nobel laureate Eugene Wigner said, "It is not possible to formulate the laws of quantum mechanics in a fully consistent way without reference to consciousness." Niels Bohr, one of the fathers of quantum physics, went even further. Everything we call real is made of things that cannot be regarded as real. Physicist John Wheeler coined the term participatory observer. He argued that the universe is not an object we observe from the outside. We are participants in its creation. Every act of observation is an act of creation. You're not just watching reality, you're creating it. Every second, with every glance, with every act of attention. But here's the key question. If observation affects reality, then what kind of observation? Because, And this is the most important part. The quality of your observation determines the quality of what you create. Let's dive deeper. This is where everything changes. There are two fundamentally different types of observation, and which one you use determines what reality you get. The first type, controlling observation. This is when you look at reality with the intent to change something, with an agenda, with the intention to force things to be the way you want. You're watching the situation, but inside you there's tension, expectation, demand. I want this to happen. I want to control this. I want to see the result right now. This is observation with a grip, with clinging, with an attempt to force reality to submit. And here's the paradox. This very type of observation collapses all possibilities into one, the narrowest, most limited version. Just like in the double-slit experiment, when you fix which slit the particle must pass through, you kill the wave function. You kill all other possibilities. What remains is one point, one option, often not the one you wanted. The second type, pure presence. This is observation without an agenda, without demands, without trying to change anything. You're simply present. Simply noticing, simply aware of what is, without judgment, without resistance, without wishing things were different. And here's what happens. The wave function stays open. All possibilities are preserved. Reality remains fluid, flexible, malleable. And in this space of openness, things begin to happen that you could never have planned. Synchronicities, unexpected encounters, sudden solutions that arrive on their own, doors that open without knocking. Lao Tzu described this 25 centuries ago. He called it Wu Wei, non-action, not passivity, not laziness, but conscious non-interference, action without forcing reality. Water is the softest substance in the world, wrote Lao Tzu, yet it wears away stone. The soft overcomes the hard, the weak overcomes the strong. Everyone knows this, but no one applies it. The Sufis said the same thing. Tawakkul, trust in the flow, not the absence of action, but action without attachment to the outcome. You do your work, you give your best, but you don't cling to the result, you let go. Zen masters taught, when the archer stops aiming, the arrow hits the center, not because he became indifferent, but because he stopped interfering with the process. In neuroscience, there's a precise explanation for this. Let's dive deeper. Your brain has two fundamentally different operating modes, and understanding this difference changes everything. The first mode, the executive network. This is the prefrontal cortex. Logic, planning, control, analysis. When you set goals, make plans, try to solve a problem, this network is running. The second mode, the default mode network, or resting state network. It activates when you stop trying, when you walk without purpose, take a shower, fall asleep, watch the clouds, think about nothing in particular. And here's what neuroscience has discovered. These two networks work in antiphase. When one is on, the other is off. They cannot operate simultaneously. It's physically impossible. And now for the most interesting part. The default mode network is not a rest mode. It's the most active and creative mode of the brain. This is the mode where all great discoveries happen. Archimedes discovered his principle in the bath, not at his desk. Newton's apple fell on his head while he sat in a garden, not while he was solving equations. Mendeleev saw the periodic table in a dream, not at a conference. Kekulé saw the structure of benzene in a half-dream by the fireplace. Why? Because the default mode network does what the executive network cannot. It connects the unconnectable, finds patterns in chaos, sees the whole, not the parts. It doesn't analyze, it synthesizes. Professor Marcus Rachel of Washington University, who discovered the default mode network, says, "The brain spends more energy on this mode than on any conscious task. This isn't rest. This is the most important work the brain does." And here's the paradox. You can't turn on the default mode network by willpower. You can only turn off the executive one. Stop trying. Stop controlling. Stop solving. This is the observer effect at the neurobiological level. When you stop fixing which slit the particle must pass through, the wave function opens up. When you stop forcing your brain to solve, the part that actually solves kicks in. Research from Stanford showed that creativity increases by 60% when a person simply walks, compared to sitting at a desk and thinking. Not because walking is magical, but because walking without purpose shuts down the controlling mode. Another study, published in the journal Science, found that people who were given an incubation period, a pause without deliberation, solved complex problems 40% better than those who worked on them continuously. Your brain is literally programmed to work better when you stop forcing it. But there's a subtlety here. Stopping the effort doesn't mean doing nothing. It means changing the quality of doing, shifting from effort to flow, from control to presence, from gripping to openness. Let's dive into how this works in practice. The first principle of the observer effect in life. Observe without interfering. What does this mean? When something happens in your life that triggers anxiety, fear, or irritation, the first reaction is to fix it, to intervene, to control, to force it to be different. But try something else. Simply watch, as if you were a scientist observing an experiment. You don't interfere with the experiment. You record data. You notice. That's it. I notice that I feel anxious. Not, I need to urgently get rid of this anxiety. Simply, I notice. I notice that the situation isn't developing the way I wanted. Not, I must urgently change this. Simply, I notice. Sounds too simple? Maybe. But when you do this honestly, something remarkable happens. The anxiety begins to dissolve on its own. Not because you defeated it, but because you stopped feeding it with attention. Stopped fighting it. And fighting? That's what makes anxiety strong. It's not the anxiety itself that kills. It's the fight against anxiety. This is clinically confirmed. Acceptance and commitment therapy, which is based on observation without interference, shows results superior to cognitive behavioral therapy for a whole range of disorders, because it doesn't try to change thoughts and feelings. It teaches you to observe them without reacting. Practice. Every time you catch yourself trying to control something, say to yourself, I observe. I don't interfere. I allow this to be. 3 sentences, and watch what happens. The second principle? Act, but release your attachment to the outcome. This doesn't mean don't set goals. Set them. This doesn't mean don't work. Work. Give everything you've got. But after you've done your part, let go. Imagine you're an archer. You've drawn the string. You've aimed. You've released the arrow. And here's the crucial moment. After the arrow has left your hands, it's no longer yours. You can't steer it in flight. You can't grab it back. The only thing you can do is let go. But what do most people do? They mentally chase the arrow. They worry. They check. They fret. Will I hit? Won't I? What if there's wind? What if I miss? And this mental grip, this attachment to the outcome, it doesn't help the arrow fly. It prevents you from drawing the next one. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the most ancient sacred texts, puts it with absolute clarity. You have a right to action, but not to its fruits. You are given the right to act. The result is not your jurisdiction. Sounds scary? For the ego, yes, because the ego is built on control. The ego believes, if I don't control every aspect of the outcome, everything will collapse. But look at your life. How much of the best that's happened to you did you plan? How many of your greatest breakthroughs were the result of a plan? Most people, if they answer honestly, will say, the best things in life came unexpectedly, unplanned, often in spite of all plans. Why? Because when you release control, you allow reality to offer you options better than your mind could have planned. Your mind is limited by what it knows. Reality is not. The key. After every action, after every effort, practice letting go. Done something. Exhale. Sent an email. Release it. Had a job interview? Forget it. Confessed your feelings? Don't wait for an answer. Allow the result to come in whatever form you may not have foreseen. The third principle, trust the process. This is the hardest of them all, because trust requires something our mind hates: uncertainty. We live in a culture where uncertainty equals danger. We were taught, if you don't know what tomorrow brings, you're vulnerable. If you don't have a plan, you're irresponsible. If you're not in control, you're a victim. But what if uncertainty isn't a threat? What if it's the space where everything new is born? Remember quantum physics once more. Before the moment of observation, a particle exists in superposition. It exists in all possible states simultaneously. All options are open. All paths are available. Uncertainty is the superposition of your life. It's the moment when everything is possible, and the attempt to immediately fix one option, that's the collapse of the wave function. You yourself collapse the space of possibilities. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote, "Close your eyes, fall. The angels will catch you." Not hope they'll catch you. Not check if there are angels, then fall. Fall. And trust. Taoist masters used the metaphor of water. Water doesn't resist. It doesn't plan its route. It simply flows, meets a rock, flows around it, meets a cliff, falls, meets a plain, spreads out. It never fights what is, and it always reaches the ocean. And in neuroscience, there's a precise analogy: the flow state. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who discovered and described this state, found that flow doesn't arise when a person controls everything. It arises when they release control and fully surrender to the process. In flow, time disappears. Effort disappears. What remains is pure action without an actor, pure observation without an observer. It's in this state that people do their best work, make their best decisions, create their greatest works. Practice. Choose one area of your life where you feel maximum tension: relationships, work, health, money. And for 1 week, give up trying to control it. Don't ignore it. Observe it. Don't be passive. Act, but without the grip, without clinging to results. And write down what happens during that week. The fourth principle, stop doing and start being. Our culture is obsessed with doing. Do more. Work harder. Try harder. Optimize. Productivity. Efficiency. Results. And we've carried this obsession into spirituality. Meditate more. Visualize more often. Repeat affirmations. Keep a gratitude journal. Working on yourself became just another job, another item on the to-do list, another way to do. But here's the secret. Transformation doesn't come from doing. It comes from being. What's the difference? Doing is a process directed outward. I do something to get something. I meditate to become calmer. I visualize to get what I want. I repeat affirmations to change my beliefs. Being is a state directed inward. I'm not doing anything to get anything. I simply am. I'm present. I'm aware, without purpose, without agenda, without expectation. Ramana Maharshi, one of the greatest Indian sages of the 20th century, said, "Don't try to be good. Don't try to be bad. Just be. Everything else will happen on its own." Meister Eckhart, a Christian mystic of the 13th century, wrote, "God asks nothing of you except that you let yourself be, and let God be in you." Tibetan Buddhism calls this Rigpa, pure, undisturbed awareness. Not meditation, not practice, simply presence, simply awareness of what is. Neuroscience shows, in a state of pure being, the brain enters alpha and theta rhythms. This is the state in which self-healing occurs, trauma integrates, and neural connections reconfigure. Not through effort, through presence, practice. Every morning, before starting your day, dedicate 5 minutes to pure being. Not meditation, being. Don't close your eyes. Don't count your breath. Just sit, look, listen, be, without purpose, without task. 5 minutes. Every day. You'll feel the difference within a week. Within a month, you won't recognize your life. The fifth principle, and it unites all the previous ones. When you stop trying to create, you begin to create. This is a paradox, and the mind can't resolve it, because the mind works linearly. Want, do, get. But reality works non-linearly. Release, open, receive. Remember how you found your best ideas, not at a desk, in the shower, on a walk. Before sleep, when you weren't thinking. Remember how you met the important people in your life, not on dating apps, by chance, in a line, at a party you didn't want to attend, in a moment when you weren't looking. Remember how the most important decisions came, not after hours of analysis, suddenly, clearly, like a flash, as if someone turned on the light. This isn't coincidence. This is the observer effect in action. When you stop fixing the outcome, the wave function stays open. All options are available, and reality chooses the best one, not your mind. Reality, and reality sees more than your mind does. Lao Tzu. The Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. Albert Einstein. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. Steve Jobs, one of the most productive people in history, said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. Only looking backwards can you see the connection. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This isn't a call to inaction. This is a call to a different quality of action. Action from openness, not from grip. Action from trust, not from fear. Action from presence, not from projection. When you begin applying the principles of the observer effect, reality gives you feedback. There are 5 signs that the shift has occurred. The first sign, a decrease in internal tension. You notice that your muscles are relaxed. Your jaw isn't clenched. Your shoulders aren't raised to your ears. Your breathing is deep and free. You're not tensing up by default. This is the first and most reliable signal. The second sign, synchronicities. There are more of them. Strange coincidences. The right person appears at the right moment. The right book falls into your hands. The right word is spoken exactly when you're ready to hear it. This isn't magic. This is resonance. Your openness begins attracting corresponding events. The third sign, decisions come easily. You no longer need to agonize over every choice. You simply know. Can't explain where it comes from, but you know. The intuition that was suppressed by control begins to speak again. The fourth sign, time changes quality. Days stop being a race. You do the same amount or even less, but the results are greater. A feeling emerges that time is on your side, that there's enough of it, that there's no need to rush. The fifth sign, inner silence. Not emptiness, not indifference. Silence. Calm. Alive. Full presence. Thoughts exist, but they don't scream. They pass like clouds. You don't cling to them. You observe. If at least 2 of these 5 signs have appeared, the shift has begun. Continue. Don't analyze. Don't evaluate. Just keep observing. Let's sum up. The observer effect is not a theory. It's an experimentally proven fact. Reality responds to the quality of your attention. When you observe with control, possibilities collapse. When you observe with presence, possibilities open. 5 principles. Observe without interfering. Act, but release the outcome. Trust the process. Shift from doing to being. Let go to receive. The ancients knew this. The Taoists called it Wu Wei. The Sufis, Tawakkul. Zen masters, Satori. Hindus, Pratyahara. Different words, one principle. Modern science has confirmed it. Quantum physics, the neuroscience of flow, acceptance psychology. Everything points in the same direction. Stop fighting reality. Start collaborating with it. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You need to stop getting in your own way. Tomorrow morning, wake up. Don't grab your phone. Don't make a to-do list. Just sit, just breathe, just be. 5 minutes, and observe, without judgment, without expectation, what happens with your day. Within a week of this practice, you'll notice a shift. Within a month, the world around you will begin to rearrange itself. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped getting in the way. This is the observer effect, the quietest, most powerful, and most ancient law of the universe. Observe, trust, be present. And if this video found you, that's already a synchronicity. You're not here by accident, you're ready. Write in the comments, in what area of your life are you trying hardest to control? Relationships? Money? Health? Career? Write one word, and that alone will be your first act of letting go. Acknowledging what you're clinging to. Subscribe if you feel this knowledge arrived at the right time. What's ahead goes even deeper. Good luck. Not the luck of chance, the luck of awareness. Observe and allow life to surprise you.